guys, Kendra here. We are going to hop right into it. As you can see from the title, God was speaking to me about my future husband. Quick side note, God has spoken to me in the past so many different times regarding a lot of different things. So from relationships to things to come in my future, to my family, friends, so on and so forth. So I definitely have had history in the past of God speaking to me through dreams, but when it came to my future husband, I was kind of like, So we're gonna just hop right in. If you have not watched the journey video that Micah and I put out, I will link it up at the top, and please go watch that so it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But overall, Micah and I, we met in January of last year, which was 2022. And to fast forward a little bit, a couple months later, one of my friends, her and I were talking on the phone, and I had told her how some guy at church came up to me that day and was like, hey, I feel like God had told me that you're supposed to be my wife and that I'm supposed to pursue you. And I was immediately like, wrong. Like, I was like, there's no way. But I was like polite and everything, and I was like, oh, okay. And so, anywho, I called my friend Lauren, and I just tell her, I'm like, dude, some like weird guy came up to me and said that. Like, it was the weirdest thing. And she starts freaking out, and she's like, Kendra, oh my gosh, I was praying and I felt like God told me that you were gonna meet your husband today. And I was like, no, that wasn't it. But that same day, I actually connected with Micah for the first time ever. I had said hi to him once before, but that day was the first time I had actually connected with him. And I also talked to some other guy that was like 70 years old, so I knew that that wasn't my future husband. But when I thought about Micah, it was kind of like, you know, like, I don't know, I just really didn't think about it. So I was like, oh, okay, Lauren, like, we'll have to put that one in our back pocket and just see what happens, you know? Because I was like, maybe my like eyes just didn't see him. Like, I don't know. So anyways, to fast forward a little bit later is when I actually started having dreams about Micah. And the very first dream I had about him, I was actually laying down and he came over to me and he just placed his arm over me. And it was really like a symbol of his covering and his protection. And it was like, it felt very, very real. But also him and I still at this point, like, never really talked. So it was really confusing. So that was the first part of my dream. And it wasn't like him making a move on me. It wasn't like no actions happened, no kissing, like literally nothing. He had just put his arm over me and it felt very protective and safe and comfortable. And another part of the dream, him and I got on a train and my brother and his friend were on it, and my brother and his friend were like, I think they like each other. And then Micah and I in the dream were kind of like, I think you like me, but I don't know for sure. Like, I don't know. Like, neither one of us wanted to say anything. And you guys, when I tell you, I woke up like literally mad. Like, I woke up and I was like, God, I don't know what kind of like warfare I was just dealing with, but like, no, because I just really felt like it felt so real. And I was also like, we don't even talk. Like, I wasn't even thinking about him. I wasn't thinking about dating anybody. Mind you, like, I did feel like God told me at the beginning of the year to prepare for marriage. And at first I was kind of like fighting against it. But after confirmations kept coming, I was like, fine, like, I will. But then when I started having dreams about Micah, I wasn't even thinking about him being my future husband. So I was kind of just like, again, what in the world is going on? Don't want to have dreams about this man anymore. So I was kind of actually like frustrated by it and kind of like thrown for maybe like 2 weeks. And eventually all of the dream kind of just like subsided. I wasn't thinking about it anymore. I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm back, you know, whatever. The next thing you know, here comes another dream. And at that point I was just like, oh my goodness. But throughout those 2 weeks, I was kind of just like, I don't even know what this was meaning. Is this somebody that I'm supposed to be with? Like, I don't know. And I started thinking a lot just about different things. And as far as like, say for example, like, would he even be able to lead me? Like, I'm a pretty strong-minded individual. And so saying that, I was always just kind of like, okay, well, whoever I end up with, like, they have to be able to lead me. And it's not that I wouldn't be willing to be led. It's just like, I actually need somebody who's going to be able to lead me, especially in the spiritual area. And so I had kind of like these questions going on in my head. And I also have just gone through so much in my life that I was like, I don't know how much he's gone through. Like, I don't know. I just don't know if he can lead me. And so the next dream that I had was actually, I was in the car and I was driving with Snoop Dogg. Okay, not to like throw shots at Snoop Dogg, but I was driving. He's in the passenger seat, and I was talking to him about something that happened in the dream right before. But like in that dream, when I see Snoop Dogg in real life, I'm always like, ugh. Like, not like that, like not in disgust. That probably sounds so bad. Not in disgust, but like he is not somebody that like his attributes and characteristics and stuff that I would allow to like drive me. I'm always the one that's going to be in control in that situation. And so it started off with that, and him and I were talking about again something prior for the other dream, and the next thing you know, the dream switches towards Micah in the driver's seat and I'm in the passenger seat, and I was like completely fine with it. And next thing you know, Micah's driving and he starts leading us up this really, really big hill, and I was kind of sitting back like, huh, this is a really big hill, we can't even see over it, but you know, like I guess I'll let him do it. And so he's driving and he gets up this hill, like this really big hill, and then a bunch of curves come up on the road, and then like it's literally just a one-way street where we're driving at, and the rest is water in the dream. And I'm like, okay, like this road's really windy, but I was just sitting back. I was cool. I like wasn't trying to take control, nothing. And then we finally come to a really, really, really big hill at the very kind of end of this part of the dream, to where like you couldn't see over it, but the steepness was insane. And I was kind of sitting there like, okay, like this is a really big test. We're going to see what happens. And he was just like, wow, like I've never driven up a hill this big before, but he was going for it. And so in my head, I was like, can he get us up it? Like, we'll see what happens. And he got us up with ease and everything. So for that part of the dream, that was like representing to me, when I was sitting down and praying and asking Holy Spirit to show me what it meant, it was really just talking about like the peace that I had, the fact that he could get us up those hills and the windy roads and stuff. I really felt like the Lord had told me he doesn't need experience, because in my head I was like, well, like does he have a lot of like different life experience like I do, you know? And I felt like God was just like, he doesn't need experience, he needs to be able to hear from me. And I was like, ooh, you're right, Lord, like that's very accurate. And so there was just a lot to that dream where I was just like, wow, okay, like that's interesting. I had a dream that was targeting one of my actual insecurities. And then I just kept having dream after dream after that. There was a dream to where it was like we were playing volleyball and just different stuff like that. But long story short, I did not tell him about these, of course, because that would have been weird. But I did end up telling one person that I trust, and then my pastor as well. And I was just like, you guys, I don't know what's going on, but after I've had these dreams for a couple months, like something's weird. And they were kind of just like, you know, okay, like all of that, like we're gonna see what happens and stuff. My pastor was kind of like, well, maybe God has a word for you to give him. And I was like, I don't know, because after having repeated dreams about him, I'm not so sure. But long story short, I definitely kept having the dreams about him, but in all sincerity, I really just sat back and I was like, I'm not going to pursue him. And that's one thing my pastor said too. He was like, if this is something that God's trying to bring together and whatnot, like sit back and allow Micah to pursue you and see what happens. And so that's exactly what I did. But I've also, since having dreams about Micah, I've had dreams about us and our relationship that have come to pass and just different things like that. So for me personally, I definitely say 110% that God can speak through dreams. It was also something he used to do in the Bible. And so yeah, that's the story on that. I would love to hear if you guys have ever had any type of experience with God speaking to you through dreams. So if you have, please leave it in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear it. Bye guys, thanks for listening.